Test, test.
We will call to order the November 13th, 2025 Bexley Architectural Review Board meeting. Can we call the roll, please?
Ms. Panoska?
Here.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Heyer?
Here.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Madam Chair Tony?
Here. Can we have approval of the meeting minutes from last month? Is there a board member that?
So moved, Scott?
Second, higher.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Panoska?
Yes.
Mr. Heyer?
Yes.
Madam Chair Tony?
Yes.
Motion passes.
This is the time for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that is here to speak to the board about something that is not on the agenda tonight? If so, you can raise your hand. Seeing nothing, we will start then with consent agenda. So our consent agenda is where the board has reviewed the applications, and as a group, we have decided that they are approved. So we will read them through and take one vote in order to approve those applications. The first one is ARB 25-57. The address is 2750 Fair Avenue. The applicant is Valerie Hallis. The second one is application number ARB 25-62. The address is 450 North Columbia. The applicant is Amy Lauerhouse. The third is ARB 25-63. The address is 334 North Remington. The applicant is Spencer Alt. The fourth one is ARB 25-65. The address is 60 South Drexel, and the applicant is Spencer Alt. And the last one is ARB 25-48. The address is 342 North Remington, and the applicant is Jandre Builders. Is there anyone in the audience that came to speak about any of those applications? Please raise your hand. Please come forward and be sworn in. And let us know which application you're here to speak about.
My name is Jordan Frazier. I'm just here to represent Ultimate Outdoor Instructor Ohio, listed as Spencer Alt, so, number 3 and 4.
Okay, so you do understand that these applications are being approved?
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. He was on a flight, so there might have been a miscommunication.
Yeah, I spoke to him today and let him know that both of his applications were approved.
Oh.
I'm fine with this board. so
Oh,
they're
be-
just being approved with this group.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Perfect. Well,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Anybody else want to speak about any of those applications? Okay, seeing no one in the crowd, is there a board member that will make a motion to approve those?
Motion to approve, Jones.
Second, Panofsky.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Hire,
Yes.
Ms. Benasca,
Yes.
Madam Chair Tony.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We have 3 applications that have asked to be tabled to the January 8th, 2026 meeting. And they are as follows. ARB 25-26, the address is 973 Montrose. The second one is ARB 25-36, the address is 811 South Roosevelt. The third one is BZAP 25-42, and the address is 2690 East Main. If you've come to speak about any of those applications, they will not be heard tonight. We do not have a meeting in December, so they will be heard on January 8th of 2026. Okay, and we don't have to do anything to table those, right? We don't have to take a vote.
You can take a vote to table them to January 8th.
Okay. Is there a board member that will make a motion to table those?
So moved, Hire.
Second, Jones.
Mr. Hire,
Yes.
Ms. Penowska,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Madam Chair Tony.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, and then we will start with new business. The first application on new business is ARB 25-59. The address is 141 North Ardmore. The applicant is Chip Barr. The owner is Julia and Matthew Benfeld. The applicant is seeking architectural review and approval of a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of a new shed roof pavilion over the back porch. Is the applicant here? Okay, seeing no one. We will hold on to that. And if they show up by the end of the meeting, we'll just add them to the end of the meeting or at end of new business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll hold it to the end of the meeting and see if they show up by then. Okay, the next application is ARB 25-60. The address is 164 South Stanwood. The applicant is Amy Lauer House and the owner is Catherine Todd. The applicant is seeking architectural review and approval of a certificate of appropriateness for a second floor addition over an existing 1-story of the house, back porch and deck addition. And I see Amy is at the podium. Can you be sworn in, please?
Yes.
You state your name and address, please.
Amy Lauer House, 753 Francis Avenue.
You swear or affirm the testimony you give this evening will be the truth?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to give us a little bit of background of this project?
Sure. So basically we're doing two things. There is a 1-story addition on the back of the house that we're adding a 2nd story over, and then we're adding a small addition on the northeast side of the house to include a mudroom and a covered porch.
Okay, I guess we'll go right to, oh, Karen, do you want to give
I
a?
really don't. I mean, I usually do. but
You don't
I
have anything
actually
else to
had
add?
Proposed as a consent, but I think a couple board members had a few questions, so
Sure.
I don't have to add first.
Okay, we will go straight to board members then. Is there a board member that would like to go first with their questions for Amy?
Well, I might as well let the rabbit out. So my question on this has to do with, the style of craftsman architecture. And your addition bumps out in plan, so the peak of your addition no longer aligns with the roof of the existing. And you can see where it's poking up there. The original design of this house, when you have an extension, it always happens to be in line with, but it never creates this funky, peak area.
So that's just an addition, a second floor over an existing addition that's there already.
Right.
So.
But the way you've designed the roof of the second floor doesn't allow for the being seamless with the roof behind it, like the rest of the roofs that are on this house. Or not all the roofs, but that there's that in line where it's in line. So it
Yeah.
feels weird that it's pushed off and it doesn't fit the character of the house to me.
Well, if you can stop and scroll back to the south elevation, the part of the addition, you can see there, we are extending part of the main box of the house, but then the second floor addition is over that existing 1 story, which is already bumped out. I basically kept all the existing soffit depths and roof slopes and things like that so that I could get the maximum amount of usable space upstairs. The roof is so steep that there's not a ton of space up there. And I felt like that was a little bit better detail than having a totally different roof slope or not having the same soffit detail as the rest of the house.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
Mhm. And it sits so far back that I don't think on this side that you really perceive that just because it's so close to the lot line.
Yeah, the elevation certainly exacerbates that, you can see how they're off. And I mean, maybe it's just because the line work is so strikingly different from, the way that the existing roofs meet, having that little bump. So my question to you is there any other option for that roof line to be able to tie in more gently where they come together?
I guess I didn't really want it to be all one mass because this one is so much lower and I was already extending the original house. If you look at this one, that kind of offset is actually behind the dormer.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't know where you'd ever be able to perceive that unless maybe you were on the second floor of the neighbor's house toward the front, looking back.
Yeah, because it just butts into the main house extension.
Right.
Mhm. So there really is no valley that exists there, except the snow will like it.
No, there's no, I mean,
They just butt against each other and they.
yeah, but
do
they're
that.
offset.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
I mean, that was my only reaction, was it just doesn't look right.
I think there is a valley. If you look at this.
Oh, there is a little bit of a valley, yeah. So you'd have to have some kind of cricket inside where they overlap, the two
Yeah.
roofs overlap.
There's a little valley there.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you would see that walking by as you look back, you would see this kind of.
I don't-
For that 1 foot.
I guess you're not seeing, from this angle, you don't see that the dormer is projected out quite a bit beyond that, the main dormer, the main house dormer. The only way I could see to potentially try to align those is to just make the soffits,
Different.
yeah, but
I
yeah.
mean, if you go to the elevations, this lower right elevation, you can see how the roof eaves and the sweeping of an eave can actually add to the character of the house. And I didn't know if there was a way, because that's asymmetrical, even though you come to a
Mhm.
peak, but that peak, yes, it does align with the window, the dormer or the gable window above does align with the windows on the first floor. But in your addition, what do you have back there? Yeah, you have the triple doors. I'm just wondering if there's a way to, you know, keep that localized symmetry of the upstairs window in your elevation and the three doors on the bottom, but pull that roof line and then maybe do an asymmetrical sweep. You know, maybe there's brackets that are on the south, on the
North, it would be the.
south, on the south. That would allow that roof to go back in plane with I don't know. That was my only comment. I mean, it's a beautiful design. I just wanted to have the conversation to see if there's a way to make it work.
Everyone's looking at you, Pete.
Pete's got to
Jump in. Be polite.
It's-
Can I? my
Please
turn?
do.
Okay, I just have, so
Yeah,
your two-story addition, the existing gable that's kind of sticking off the main form of the house,
yes.
that's going away, or are you extending that?
I'm kind of expanding that out
it-
to the main width of the house.
If you zoom in on the upper right where that existing back gables that comes off the main house. Top right photo, can you zoom in? Right photo, yeah. So it looks like it's aligned, that ridge of that 4-foot extension hits into the gable right there, thank you.
Yes, correct.
So what you're doing is we have this condition, but you're probably, it looks like you're raising that up a little bit and pushing it out to the left.
So that piece right there, I am just extending to the main width of the full house, so that will then
So you're
match
pulling
the.
this way and its ridge is gonna align with the main.
Yes, so it will look like it was just part of the original.
I guess I got that with your expansion there at the back porch, so. Okay,
But the addition is actually bumped out, like you were.
it is that.
It is bumped out, and that's
Well, with the fireplace, it is bumped out, so
Yes.
that's the anomaly.
Yes.
I mean, it may not be totally in character with the house because I don't see it happening anywhere else, but you could form a small gambrel, you know, at that up there above that window, and it would pull the peak. You could pull the peak back to that intersection.
I'm just worried how much
Yeah.
actual real estate I'd have upstairs in that bedroom.
Well, can you go to the elevation?
I'd have to probably expand that dormer.
Well, I guess I'm just saying that like right here, go to here,
Yeah,
and then the dormer slope reduces a little bit, but you don't lose any, you're not losing any room. This is all happening above your ceiling.
oh, I see what you're saying.
So
Yeah.
this would come
Right.
down to the center,
Yes,
and then you do a gambrel
Yeah,
there, and then this dormer would then be at somewhat lower slope. But at least you would tie the ridge of this into that intersection with this, where it comes down and it slopes and intersects right at the center line here.
and I think that the quirkiness of that gambrel in the location would be fairly hidden, right? But it at least would tie things together.
I think
and-
that would be a lot less hidden than what I've shown.
But that would change the pitch of the roof, right?
Yeah.
Roofs won't have the same.
To me, a
Yeah,
gambrel is
this
still.
roof will have the
different.
same pitch until you get to here,
Yeah,
and then it slopes in at a different slope. So it'd be a gambrel, but it's a very small gambrel.
right.
There's enough quirks on this house that I think you could get away with that as an addition, that it would read as part of the natural character of the house. But this doesn't, I hate to be so picky, but this one, I just think that there's another opportunity here to tie them in better, especially where they overlap, because it's going to be a water issue where they overlap.
Because you're gonna have a cricket, you're gonna have to build that up.
It's really just the amount of the trim, the wall and the trim.
Go back
Yeah.
go to the side elevation.
In the side elevation, Amy, it looks like.
The other one.
like about a foot, keep going. Oh, you were right, Dylan. Right, there's the
Yeah, it's basically the wall thickness and then the rake trim. That's all that's there.
Yeah. You're not actually, I mean, there's, the wall overlap. There's not really any
Yeah.
wall overlap.
Right.
But
The
all
wall
that
is,
trim work is.
yeah, trim to
the-
both sides,
So the
basically.
snow and everything, I mean, that would all have to be metal. Like you wouldn't be able to take the shingle into that valley. It would have to, you'd have to bring the metal up on the rake and on the roof. Anyway, I just think there's an opportunity to
I'm certainly happy to look at
clean it up.
that.
Yeah, work with Karen.
Okay,
So not a condition, but rather a suggestion to explore.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, this is a detail. I mean, we've done this before and she always comes up with, an option. So
Is there any other board member that would like to talk about this application? Okay, so are you good then? You'll work with Karen and just come to the best option,
yes,
the best result? Okay.
yes.
Is there anybody else in the audience that wants to speak about this application? Okay, seeing no one. So we are basically approving it.
Yeah.
That it will be remanded back, or not remanded, that it will be worked on with Karen. And do you want anything specific written in that? Just that she's figuring out the pitch of the roof or the roof?
right, the roof intersection between the addition and the extension, the new extension would be more
Mhm.
commensurate. And if those, if the design consultant could forward those to the board.
So Karen, can you read the findings of fact
Yeah.
when you're ready?
Okay, the findings in fact and conclusions of law for application number ARB 2560 for the property located at 164 Stanwood, the Architectural Review Board grants a certificate of appropriateness for a second floor addition over an existing one-story addition of the house, a back porch and deck addition as well, with the condition that the applicant work with the design consultant to find a solution for the roof of the second floor addition to be more commensurate with the existing roof.
With the two-story roof extension. Because it is an addition back there where she's hitting. Yes.
Okay, do you understand the findings of facts as they've been read?
I do.
Okay. Is there a board member that will make a motion?
So moved, Scott?
Second, higher.
Ms. Panofska,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Hire.
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Madam Chair Tony.
Yes.
Motion
Thank
passed.
you.
Thank you. The next application is ARB 25-61. The address is 217 North Cassingham. The applicant is Sean McAllister. The owner is Jim Wingard and Janice Mannheim. The applicant is seeking architectural review and approval of a certificate of appropriateness to replace the front porch.
Sean McAllister, 130 North Maple Street, Marysville, Ohio.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give this evening will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Will you give us a little background on your project?
Yeah, my client wants to do a new porch, and also paint the front. Remove the upper shutters, put trim on there, and replace the shutters on the downstairs, lower level, and pretty much that's it. So,
Okay, is there a board member that would like to go first with this application? You want me to do public first? Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak about this application? Okay. Is there a board member that would like to go first?
I'll go.
Ms. Panofska?
I'm curious about some of the design decisions for, the styles.
that's what the owner wanted. So, yeah, that's the best way I can.
In terms of the roof material and the changes of the metal and including the style of the column and everything.
That's fine. You can still say, give them your comments.
So stylistically, it's a pretty significant change, you know, to go from this gable roof to a hip roof. And also to change the column proportion and sizing. There's something very elegant in the style of the column that is there right now. Even just the overhang of the soffit.
I'm a fan of the proportion of those columns, though.
Pardon?
The existing columns are too small, I think. So they just seem kind of,
For me, it just doesn't fit right. And so I'd be curious to know if your client would be open to reconsidering
yeah, I can come up with
those
that.
elements.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had a couple of comments on so you're going from a round to a square, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
but I could go back around if that's preferred.
Yeah, or at least have a bit of a taper, because there was some elegance to, you know, I understand that they might have been a little spindly, but like I said, there was an elegance to it before, but now it feels really tight and capped off. And are you able to talk more about the connection between how you're going to do the detail at the slope membrane to the metal roof? That's something that
If we're not gonna,
Pardon?
if we're not gonna use this, what,
These are just questions.
Okay.
I'm more curious about the decision.
yeah, you basically would have a piece of trim. There is a section in there. If you look on section 5A1.
Yeah, I don't know if I understand the inclination for it. Just stylistically for me, it just doesn't do it.
Is there anything else, Ms. Mattson?
No, not at the moment.
Is there a board member that would like to go next?
I have a question first.
Mr. Scott?
What was discussed up to this meeting with staff?
So I wrote my staff report.
Mike?
Oh, sorry. In my staff report, I pointed out that I don't really understand the massing of the well, first, let's just go back and say, I hope all of you drove by this house because with the risk of insulting the owner, which I certainly don't want to do, there's not a lot significant about this house. So I'm not particularly tied to the gable, you know, as opposed to a different kind of portico, but I don't understand the choice of the shape of the roof. It seems to me like even if you wanted to go with a metal, then maybe just a simple shed.
Yeah.
That's what I would suggest.
Better massing,
Mhm.
because this is, especially if you take those shutters off of the second floor, that is gonna kind of be tiny compared to the amount of exposed facade, in my opinion. You know, the shutters are nothing to keep because I think they're just the glued on shutters.
Mhm.
Derogatory term shutters, but I don't think they're real shutters, so it doesn't give me heartburn at all to lose the shutters on the top. But I think it's kind of strange that the same thing's not happening on the bottom, but whatever. I'm much more concerned about the roof of the portico. Like, it just seems by making it not as simple as the house is, that it's awkward to me. I don't personally have an opinion about what kind, like whether you use asphalt to match the house or or metal, because there's nothing significant that I would care to see mimic, but I think the scale is really important.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
You just want me to keep going?
Yes, please.
I think that, you know, looking at the existing house, there's some challenges even with that gable front porch. It has some kind of proportion issues. There was comments earlier that the owner and you think maybe the existing columns are too spindly, but actually I think they're appropriate for the size of the house. My criticism of the existing gable is its depth and its some of the proportion of the gable itself. Again, I know there's the interest of taking that down, but I just don't believe that the new design that's being proposed is less or more in tune with the scale of the house. Actually, I think it becomes even more awkward because of the scale of the mass of now the roof is, it doesn't taper now. It's become much more kind of bulky because of the way the roofs are working. These houses are always challenging because they have the cantilever on the second floor on the front of the house. And this house has a cantilever on the left side of this particular elevation. So it becomes a real challenge. And it's interesting how you would kind of work into that. I think simplifying the roof shape will go a long way. And I think shed was mentioned by the staff or maybe Christina. So I would explore that. I also wouldn't make the columns too ornate or too big because I think there's an elegance to the smaller columns with balancing of the facade. The shutters in drawing give balance to the proportion of the windows to the overall building. And even in the photographs, it does that because they're darker. I'm not a big fan of shutters as ornamentation, but they can bring a balance to the overall exterior facade. I'm fine with removing them. I think maybe I would look at the width of your trim on the second floor. Maybe it gets a little bit bigger.
Okay.
I know there's existing shutters. I was looking at this photograph of the front facade, and for the life of me, I was like, it looks like there's a big piece of glass over the thing because it looks like a reflection, but it's white paint. Are you planning on painting the brick white?
No, it's gonna
Because it looks like it's been painted in the photograph,
gonna be painted.
but it is going to be painted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're painting the brick. It looks like
It's
are
a
the
light, light gray.
light gray.
Yep.
And the shutters, are they being replaced right now? They're like
Yeah, they're being replaced.
Okay, so you're doing more of a paneled shutter left
Mhm.
and right of the door.
Yeah, and those are the darker color, the shutters.
And then the door is going to be the same color as the shutter, or is it going to be?
It's a good question. I'll have to find out.
I don't think they have to be. I think the shutter, the shutters in essence, I'm assuming there might have been side lights at some point because the brick stops and the shutters
Yeah.
are recessed in the
Probably.
facade. So I'm guessing at some point this door
Possible.
might have had some side lights that got covered up. Maybe not, but because there are times where there's detail and ornamentation. So I would think about moving away, at least from the terminology of shutters, but maybe it's just frame trim work around that door and not make them look like shutters. And I hope it's not a product that you're buying to put in there. I would look at left and right of that door as being a little bit more trim detail.
Trim
based.
panel.
Yeah, and look at keeping the detail simple, but making the door integrate into that overall opening where the brick is stopping. And I think that's the last of my comments.
Ms. Jones?
Yeah, a lot of my comments also had to do with just the scale of the proposed columns, and just whatever shape that, the roof of the portico might take. I do think when this is done, it's going to be a really nice addition to a house that could use, a little refresh. So I think we're all supportive of the cosmetic edits that you guys are proposing. I think the paint colors that you've picked are appropriate. Sometimes painting brick gives us a little bit of heartburn, but I think looking at the brick here, I think it would be a fine thing to paint. So it's kind of the extent of my comments.
Mr. Heyer?
So this roof has, I'd say 2/3 of it is flat. I mean, you got the low slope, right?
Mhm.
So it's a membrane roof on top, and then you're switching to the sort of mansard,
Mhm.
Roof. Since 2/3 of it is flat, would your client be interested in just doing this as a flat roof? Because a flat roof is going to allow you to tie around the corner and all the weird things that are jutting in and out at the second floor where it's sticking out. Why not just have that as you know, as a flat system. Okay, and then these skinny columns that she doesn't like, you could do them as, I mean, I agree with Mr. Scott that they should be simple. You could, but I would do two on each side. So you do two skinnier ones instead of trying to create this big bulky thing that is supposed to look like it's supporting this
I
large
guess
roof.
my only thing with that is when you pull off the old structure, what's behind there?
Right.
And how do you match that
Hmm.
nicely? That'd be the only thing.
Yeah, that's legit, but I think you
Yeah.
can keep that beam system and put your flat roof above that. And it would extend out whatever way you wanted over the top of that
Mhm.
with the membrane. Beneath it, you just have your new square piers. They just line up with the beam system, like according to our design guidelines. So if you haven't gone through those, talk to Ms. Bokor, because there are certain details in the design guidelines that are important about how the pier meets the porch base, how the pier meets with the beam that's above, and if it's the existing beam, you know, could you get that to work, you know, cleanly? The shutters, I don't know. I mean, I understand the proportion of window and window things to wall, right? That's what we're reacting to in terms of these windows are going to look very small on the second floor once the shutters are taken off. You're going to put trim on it. I would ask you to enlarge the trim. I feel like the trim that you've shown in your elevation is too small. I think you could really go bigger. You could go 8-inch, you know, with some profile and stepping or something to call more attention to them. And it could still be simple and linear, but this style of house, you know, there's a lot you can do with it. And I think it just needs to be refined a little bit more to work with what you've been given. The roof system that is being proposed, I don't think works with the house as it was designed. The gable roof that's there now is better, but it still doesn't work with all the things that are jutting in and out around the second floor of this. So, and it's a more contemporary house. So why not do some kind of flat roof that it can cantilever in directions, you know, that might be different on one side than another, but that doesn't really play into any proportional system. You know what I mean? So I would say there's probably another solution that could make this really feel like a contemporary home that you're trying to improve the relationship of all the parts, right? That's I think what the goal you're trying to do that.
Anything else? Ms. Panaska, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, if we're considering a low slope option, I'd be into that as long as we do something proportionate to the windows up above. And I do like the idea of having a thicker profile or trim around the windows. With respect to the color palette, ask your client how they feel about doing something fun at the door. Right now, everything's very gray and white.
Mhm.
It might be nice to offset it with some sort of punchy color or even just a muted color. And I do like the new proposed shutters versus the old.
Thank you. I agree with what the board members have said. I will just say that when I first reviewed this the other day, my first reaction was, why would you put a McDonald's roof on the front of your house? And that's really what the mansard roof is it's styled after the original McDonald's. So I think that either doing a flat roof could be very elegant. And my guess is that this is not original to the house. So hopefully when you take it off, there is stucco behind there that will make it easy to do. But I could also get behind a shed roof on it. I loved Mr. Heyer's idea of doubling up the columns because right now they feel skinny for how long and how wide that entryway is. But two of them would feel amazing and very appropriate for that style. So Okay, so does that give you enough information to take back to your client?
Yep.
Okay, so probably what we should do is just push this to the January meeting. That we will table it to that meeting. Would that be okay for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, is there a board member that will make a motion?
So moved. Higher.
Second, Jones.
Call the roll.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Ms. Penofsky, Mr. Hire,
Yes.
Madam Chair Tony.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And the last thing I'll say is please stay in touch with Karen. She can go through all this with
Okay.
you and help make it as painless as possible.
I know,
Okay,
I know what I'm doing. I can be there.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
All right.
Okay, our next is application ARB 25-66. The address is 791 South Roosevelt. The applicant is Steve Miller. The owner is Jordan Grinter. The applicant is seeking architectural review and approval of a certificate of appropriateness for a two-story addition to the rear of the home and a restoration of the front porch. Is the applicant present? Okay, that one will also get moved to the end of the agenda. The next one is application BZAP 25-45. The address is 2680 East Main Street. The applicant is K4 Architecture LLC, Sandy Tenhenfeld. The owner is First Financial Bank and Jeff Hartley. The applicant is seeking a recommendation to the Board of Zoning and Planning for a certificate of appropriateness for an exterior renovation of the existing banking center. Is the applicant present? Please come forward and be sworn in.
Rick Posey, principal with K4 Architecture in Cincinnati, 555 Guest Street, G-E-S-T.
You swear affirm the testimony you give this evening will be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, can you just give us a brief synopsis of your design?
Yeah, first of all, I apologize that I am not Sandy Tenenfeld, who's been speaking with. Okay. I just wanted to say Sandy is not here. Her son is in a band competition in Indianapolis, so she couldn't make it back.
Not to expect her.
Okay.
And I let her know that I usually give a staff report to begin anyway, so that I could fill in the
Perfect.
board on, if that's okay with you.
Oh, absolutely.
I've been working with Sandy, who is part of your firm. And the idea here is, well, there's a lot of ideas here. There's an addition to the back of the building that is proposed. This building currently, and I'm also going to let Matt chime in for anything that is actually zoning, but it overlaps in design a little bit here. So if I don't cover something, he'll fill that in. But this building currently really uses the back entrance and not the front for banking. So what the client wants to do is close up the front door, which is kind of antithetical to what our principles of Main Street design have been. Having said that, I think we need to look at this project as if the Board of Zoning and Planning allowed them to actually remove the front door, is there still a front presence? That's how I'd like to encourage you to look at it. And that's how I talked to Sandy about it, that the column remain and the bump out still look as though it, envision it if somebody else occupies this building, could it easily be brought back to a front entrance where currently they want to put a conference room. So we talked through that, and I actually kind of talked through my disappointment that a front door was going away, because I like to encourage pedestrian activity on Main Street, but the truth is it's not working that way currently. So the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is the aesthetic of the signage. And Sandy knows this, and I'm sure she related to you. I have a huge problem with the bright yellow, and I'm sure that the board will too. And in our conversations, the decision was just like, let's just try it. Her decision, your decision. I have since gone on a lot of, like Google Maps and looked at other kind of like communities, Hudson, Ohio, Worthington, I can name a few. And there has been the agreement to soften the yellow. Just put some trim work and soften the yellow. So I'm going to encourage our boards to encourage the applicant or require the applicant to soften that up. Did I cover? Okay, I think so. So those are the kind of issues that, without talking through the programmatic things, if you want to talk about that, you can, but I kind of briefly did. But those are the issues that Sandy and I talked about on the front end, some of which she just said, let's just start here. So that's why we're starting with this. This is going for variance.
It's going to zoning for approval, a removal of the front door.
No, it doesn't need a variance. Maybe a slight variance from the mixed-use commercial design guidelines, which say shall have a front door entrance. However, the way our Main Street design standards set up, the process is that BZAB is the approver ultimately, right? And then the applicant can come to you when it's requested by BZAP, but BZAP is supposed to look at everything. When it's more architecturally forward or, visually things are changing, to be customer oriented, we like to just send them to you. Otherwise they would wait to BZAP to December 4th and then come to you and then back to BZAP. And so I figured BZAP's going to say, well, what does our architecture review board say? So we had them come to you first. They will also go to the Tree and Public Garden Commission because part of those columns in the pavers sort of juts out, and those trees, there's like a planting easement, I think, and then also it ties into the landscape in the right of way. So the Tree and Public Garden Commission will see this as well.
And they're looking for a recommendation from our board.
That is the way it is set up in the code. Yeah. Recommendation from you all to BZAP.
And back to the tree and board. I don't know if it's clarity for rendering purposes, but are they proposing a removal of a tree in the front?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I haven't been told.
Might just be the rendering.
Yeah. And like I said, I believe that's a planting easement that's on their property, but those are city trees along there, sycamores, I think. So, which I think we've since trimmed them up. Let me know if we haven't. They're not trimmed up yet. Okay, I'll ask our forestry to look at that again.
Mr. Klingler, can we have clarification too? Is this application BZAP 25-45 or -64? On my agenda, it says 45 and on my screen, it says 64.
Maybe it was a typo.
Mine says 45.
On your screen?
Oh. The folder says 64, but all the files inside of it say 45.
This should be 40. This should be 45. I think we made a typo on the,
I just wanted to be clear.
apologize. I'll change that right now.
Oh, no.
Okay, is there anyone else in the audience that wants to speak about this application?
If I could just add a couple background things to what Karen talked about. So why are we here? Why is the bank wanting to do anything? They've been in Bexley for like 10 or 11 years, but it was only in 2022 that they actually became the building and property owner. They were a tenant. And the former landlord held title to the building. So this is, now that they've been here, they own the asset and they're growing and they like Bexley. And so there's some improvements in the interior programming and functionality to get a few more offices and workstations and improve the workflow, number one. Two, I'm an architect and a dues paying member of CNU, and the beauty of communities like Bexley is we don't make them like this anymore. They're walkable, they're street facing. So, losing a front door is a big deal. But there's, especially for the bank, there's always security issues. The fact that the parking's in the rear, customers that use the front door, they might be carrying, especially commercial that are coming to make a deposit. They're walking from the parking lot because there really isn't any street parking per se. It was in the process of reworking the interior and addressing the security concern. The choice was made to let's improve what is functionally the main entrance, which faces the parking lot, and eliminate the door. Although we're putting a window where the front door is, we're maintaining the little covered portico in one of the columns, so that in the future, if it's ever sold, it would be easily restored to a front door. Other than that, there's no additional square footage being added, except the entry. There's an existing entry from the parking lot in the rear, but it is tucked in between the northernmost jut was an addition after the original building, long before First Financial took it on. It's a flat roof, and it created a little alleyway. If you look at the floor plan, we're essentially in, this vestibule. Right now, you will walk all the way back there to where to enter the door. So it's not a very inviting, and there's a blue vinyl awning type canopy that fails to really resolve the hip roof, the flat roof. There's a lot of things going on right there. So we're trying to resolve all that. We're also making what says lobby right there, and we're relocating the tellers. That's going to be the primary customer facing portion of the bank, and creating more office space where the tellers are now. In doing, that's really in that space where that lobby is going now and where the tellers are being relocated. That's a back of house function right now. It's a flat roof, wood framed, and like an 8-foot ceiling. So in an effort to daylight that, raise the ceiling height and begin to incorporate, I'll use the dirty word, and that is brand standards of the bank, where at least when you walk through the door, the elements, the experience is fairly consistent, whether it's a new branch or an existing building. You'll see here, when they build brand new branches, that's, a very contemporary look, where we'll get into talking about the yellow metal, but that is especially formulated color for them. But you'll see there's a raised clear story that allows light into the lobby. And it's that element that you're seeing repeated, at least in our proposal, over that existing flat roof section. And I would point out, we're raising. So the brick wall height's what exists, and we're raising that. We're separating this element with a section of flat roof that will transition between this section and the hip roof of the original building. And that continues around, go to the next, that continues behind the sign panel. So that section of flat roof resolves the extended height we're adding here. We're also removing their existing condensing units all right here. We're lifting those up onto that flat roof, so they'll be hidden. Secondly, behind the blue panel on the entry sign, we're hiding the gas meter and the gas service with that entry piece. I think I'll stop there and take questions, concerns.
Is there anyone else from your group that wanted to speak or?
Anyone want to speak now or wait till?
Okay,
I would say that Jeff is the owner's representative. He is here, so.
okay. Let's go to the board then. Is there a board member that would like to go first? Mr. Scott?
Back in the 2000s, this building sat and had very little street presence, and our firm was hired to engage the street, and we added an addition of a long covered walkway up to the sidewalk. I see that that's full disclosure. I didn't work on it. I am familiar with the project. First Bexley Bank, I believe it was, 2009, maybe 2008. All of that was in an effort to meet the kind of Bexley requirements of trying to engage the pedestrian aspect of our main street. It also had that was the main public entry. The back entry, I believe, was more of the private entry, which is that kind of alleyway that you've mentioned. So, so that's, you know, it looks like that now is being torn down, and one column is remaining, which I think is part of the original. I think that's where that the design stemmed from. We've repeated that out. So you're going back to more of the original design of that building. But it does cut off all pedestrian aspect, or connection to the street. And if I did want to walk here, I'm going to have to walk now back and out and around to the back of the building. A lot of the banks that we see that are this setback, even the Huntington building that's there, which does have a main street access, pedestrian access. But I believe the Fifth Third is set back like this, and the main entry is in the back because where people are parking. You also are contending with the drive-through. The drive-through is going to be active, correct? Yeah. So, you know, I get it, and I understand the reasoning. I'm disappointed that the pedestrian access is being lost. Though, you know, we're not talking about a lot of distance. You know, a lot of the things that we've been working on in the city on the commercial design guidelines that are currently underway, even the land use strategies, you know, it's really trying to activate our main street. And this it feels to be like a step backwards. I would argue, or maybe agree with any argument that said that the existing kind of portico that's bringing pedestrians is heavy, it's dark, it's not very inviting. And I get that it doesn't work with your internal programming and your layout of the bank. But I think it's a loss to what we're trying to, as a community, trying to build in the fabric of Main Street. That aside, or moving on, maybe is a better word. Looking at the design of the massing, can you go to the rear? You know, I understand that there's a brand color. It's pretty bright. It looks like it's going to be located mostly in the back, except for the little sign in front. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but I get it. We do projects all the time that have brand colors that we have to work into it. And I actually don't mind the addition to the massing in the back. The shape of that, I think, is fine. I question, and I think I just need a little bit of explanation of what's going on with the materiality, why the material, you've changed it as you've raised up this. I know there's a clear story windows. I think I'm fine with that. I just kind of curious why the color's changing and what the materials are doing.
So the wedge shaped piece on the north, that is proposed to be ephes. And then the panels where the windows are metal, you know, Aluka bond. And those are, again, those are elements off of that prototypical building. The materials, I mean, masonry, it's different colors, different, you know, they're, and obviously a flat roof building with a clear story, but all of we're adding the windows both and we're cutting those openings into the existing brick. And then as you go up, that sort of clear story band is in a band of metal panels and then ephes above that.
I think for me, my personal taste would be that would be one material. I'd love to see that all metal.
And
I think that's
that-
okay.
Yeah,
I
that
think,
can
I
be
think it's
done.
getting, to me, it's a little busy. And I get that there's the lines connecting to your main arch as you're coming in. I think that all is understood. I think your roof thickness of the kind of roof plate, the eave of your shed, it seems a little thick to me. I'd love to see that a little bit more refined. I don't know if that's from a standard.
Some of that, you're seeing the shadow line and the
Probably.
eave line, there's an overhang. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
little,
So, and then I think the going back to the pedestrian feel, and again, that's a zoning issue. I have an architectural and a kind of Main Street activation argument that I've already mentioned. But I would be interested in ways of this existing building has this overhang on the right of this image. I don't know if there's any existing downlights or any kind of lighting in that landscape, but I think adding some exterior elements to kind of brighten up that facade or give some a little bit more aesthetic to that in an evening sense would I think go a long way as well.
yeah, right
Or-
now, those street trees touch the roof, overhang.
Yeah, well, that's
That's why we're
that's
trying to get
always
them.
fun. So I just, you know, I think for me, you're kind of wrapping the entire building in your renderings and landscape, and we don't review landscape here, but it's a way, I guess, to ground the rendering. I don't know if that's your plan, exactly what's happening, but activating and making sure that the perimeter that's not your front door, so the sides and then the back, which is now your Main Street side, has a civic feel and it has some pedestrian scale to it, and not just the lawn and in the back of the building. I think that's a huge mistake. So I would look at that. Thank you.
Mr. Hire?
Yeah, I think the loss of the pedestrian access is definitely it hurts our Main Street streetscape. However, and no offense to Pete's, but I live a block away and I drive this intersection every day, and the extension of that it might be the tree coverage or something, but the walk, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't do anything for the setback and the, you know, I mean, I know it's coming out to the street and we're trying to bring more of that, but right now it kind of blocks the view of the whole sort of setback conditions that we have there on Main Street. So I've always felt uncomfortable with that. I like the design, I really do, but there's something about the way that it juts out, and then you got all that tree coverage. So in one sense, I see a lot of opportunity for the front of this building, which the way that you've rendered it in this northwest perspective is a suburban ranch bank building. That's what it looks like. All the plantings that you have in front and the roads and the fact that it's set back. So the attempt at bringing it out to the street was one solution, but we're not seeing a solution here to help make it feel like it's part of a pedestrian zone. Even if people aren't walking into the bank, it's still part of the public streetscape. And so one thing that I was thinking of is that why not make that conference room actually more prominent? Why not actually create a glass enclosure that comes out towards the street and people can see activity in the bank, just like we have down here with the Ohio State Bank. I mean, there's all kinds of activity happening in that building, even though there's no entrance right on Main Street. You have to go around the corner. Here you have to go all the way to the back. But the point is that this idea of there being pedestrian presence and activity on Main Street, you could compensate for the loss of the door or the entryway by having the conference room more visible. And I know there's probably privacy issues and all that. Probably everybody wants to pull their shades for really private meetings, but I like the idea of there being this visual that there is business activity happening on Main Street and people can see it, even if they can't go in right there. So I think you have an opportunity with, you say you're adding this window, but I say blow this all out and have it actually come out and try to engage the street more as a conference room. which seems kind of, oxymoronic, right? The conference room is not engaging with the street, but it is because we're seeing the activity. We're seeing something happening in the public realm in this space. So that's just one idea, but this to me doesn't work. It's just going back to being a suburban bank. And so I think you could do something here that would really activate this in terms of that human presence that we're trying to reestablish on Main Street. If you go to the back, I disagree with Mr. Scott. I do not think that this sloped roof is part of the character of this building, and I don't think that it's part of the character of Bexley. We do have some places where we might have shed roofs here and there, but this to me doesn't fit. I understand the screening of some of the mechanical. I understand that you want to bring light in from above to help, make this lobby feel more alive. I would suggest that you create a monitor on top of this roof. In other words, a vertical glass, extension that goes up back from the edge of the roof, like a monitor. It's just an elongated rectangular cupola. And all that light's going to shed into that lobby, but it's set back from an eave that is horizontal, and it's higher than the existing eave of the bank. I get that. But the shed and the ephes and the metal, to me, it's just not in character with this building. I think you could bring back some of that horizontality, that sort of prairie style, right? There's a little bit of prairie style in all this with the horizontality. And then you could still wind up screening the mechanical. But I see a lot of potential here in terms of engaging the street, even though you wouldn't have an entry, but I think it requires us to see activity. It can't be behind, tinted windows and a brick facade. There has to be something that feels, if it's not an entryway, it has to feel like activity, pedestrian activity. Those are my comments.
Could I, Mr. Har, ask, so obviously doing what we do, we explored a flat roof over this shed. Am I hearing you're suggesting we could raise the clear story, but you want to see maybe more of a shallow hip?
No, I'm saying have your overhang at this brick point, okay? Have an eave at this brick point, but set back in, okay, over your lobby would be this glass clear story. That would allow the light to come in. But what it does is it helps to maintain this and this back here in a different way. And I understand that. And it's more contemporary in the sense that this is going to be a flat eave and it's raised up. I mean, I can think of like 5 Frank Lloyd Wright houses that have, these eaves that step and they extend in different ways. But even that clear story has that prairie style feel. This to me doesn't work with the language, the way that you could do it with that. And then one side of that clear story monitor could actually be solid to help screen the mechanical units. It doesn't have to all be glass. But I think that that would be worth exploring because I think it fits the character of this building better. And I really like the idea of this conference room expressing itself more and coming out if it's possible to do that. Does that help? For explanation of what I'm thinking of back here, sorry.
Yeah. And as far as we did options a long time ago that had additions in the front to bring the building closer to the street. But programmatically, there wasn't enough meat to support it. So we kind of got reeled back in. There is no additional square footage in this plan. Everything that it's the existing footprint.
Well,
So-
then, right, so it's,
But I don't disagree
yeah,
at all with what you're saying. I mean, it's kind of like,
yeah,
even though this building right here, and this is a contemporary building for Bexley, but you're all the way at the back, off the street. But once you get back here, it looks like this room is literally in the parking lot, from outside. You don't even notice that waiting area. So I totally get what you're saying there.
so the exploration of that wouldn't have to increase the square footage in the sense that whatever this window system is, you know, could start at the floor level and then, you know, cantilever towards the street.
Oh, yeah.
Is that considered additional square footage if you? So, I mean, I'm just trying to, and it could also be a gift to the city of Bexley for taking away the door, right?
Yeah.
You take that away, then you spend a little extra to say to Bexley, we understand that we've done this to your Main Street, you know, desires. And so we would like to make up for that by spending a little bit extra money to make this a more pedestrian engaging type of front. I think that Bexley deserves that. But as it is with just the added window and the brick and the taking away of that connection to the street, there has to be a balance back for that.
And I agree. And actually to the earlier discussion, and again, no offense to any previous design or anything.
I didn't design it, so
No,
I speak.
no.
No, I don't disagree with any of it. I just.
But the proportion of those columns relative to the roof and the space that it encloses.
Oversized.
Oversized.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. So,
But you know what? Part of it's become endearing because we've lived with this for so long and it has a certain character to it. And there's certainly buildings in Bexley that are clumsy, but because we've lived with them, they're really like our neighbor now. And yes, we kind of, you know, sort of lovingly accept the odd proportions here and there. You have a lot of that in Cincinnati, obviously, but
yeah.
That's not the primary issue here. The issue is the Main Street access and what do you do to compensate for that? And then the character of this building and trying to build that new addition with something that's more commensurate with the language that we have here. The yellow sign, I mean, the yellow sign that's there that already exists is very muted. It's very nice. So I don't see any issue with using the color that you have already for any of this new stuff on the back. So.
Ms. Jones?
So I think the point about really trying to keep that front corner activated in some way are well taken. You know, I wonder if you would ever give consideration to keeping some hardscape out front and letting that be a place where employees might gather for lunch. So it still feels more engaged with the street. You know, we just moved offices and we are now lacking our little break porch because we're on the corner of Livingston and German Village. And it's something that I think we're thinking a lot about. So I think that could be a really nice way to kind of bridge that gap and give some of that back to the street character. My other comment, I think, you know, the other comments have been addressed. Is there an opportunity to maybe tweak and soften the brand yellow a little bit, just to make it feel a little bit more in keeping with a historically, you know, contextual color? I understand that that's not always possible, but I think sometimes when we look at, you know, more historic districts, obviously this building is not historic, but toning down the color, I think, can go a long way to making it feel a little bit more palatable. So.
Can you go, there's a slide anticipating this discussion. Next one. There. So that's an example. Believe it or not, this is the first time we've ever got any opposition to the yellow. I'm joking. I'm joking. Boy.
I'll call you out on that because.
So what you're seeing here, yeah. What you're seeing here is kind of taking that clear anodized secondary color, and then we use a little bit of yellow on the little blade. I mean, this is the yellow, so it is. It's not bright in your face, but yeah, that's not you know, it's an actual sample of the yellow, and
It's actually softer to see it here than I think
is,
it
yeah.
in the
Well,
images.
The sample's helpful.
Every one of these SketchUp renderings, it looks different. I'll be happy to send that.
Sure.
Actually, the existing sign in the shade on Google looks even more muted than that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is probably faded.
I think it looks great.
Yeah, I think this looks much better than I think obviously it comes across on a screen in a rendering. But
Google Maps.
Yeah, it's definitely faded.
Anything else, Ms. Jones?
no, that's it.
Ms. Knapp?
So just for clarity, because those are the two things. One is settling on the use of that yellow and then how much. And then obviously the BZA's concern is what we're doing to the front. There was some dialogue that Sandy had with Karen about that hardscape. Even though it's private property,
Right.
right? The public face is public. And so there's hardscape there now that's under the sort of little porte cochere.
Mhm.
There was discussion about restoring that hardscape.
I think there's a way to landscape it and still make it feel as though it's belongs to the bank and is not a public park. I think about some of the stuff that was done like on Gay Street where those little courtyards still feel like it belongs to this. I mean, in that case, it would be a residence, but it would belong to the bank. But I think it could help just regain that activation that I think we're trying to get back along Main Street.
Even if it's it's visually accessible both to the public.
Right.
But to your point about, it could almost be like a little mini courtyard that's a visual courtyard for the conference room, even if they can't physically open a door and
Right.
go out onto it. Because yeah, I mean, it's part of the security thing for a bank. They like to have one door to make it less accommodating for someone who's there to rob the bank, come in one door, out the other. It's a small enough, typically branch banks are small enough. Occupant load only requires one exit. So wherever they can accommodate that, that's the preference. And it's always contrary to everything we're talking about here in an urban setting.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
what happened with the Fifth Third? Because they have two doors. They have a front door that actually functions, and then they have the side door that goes into their lobby. So it'd be interesting to understand.
I think they
They have
both go into their.
Parking in front.
They both go into the lobby,
the
yeah.
side door Comes from the
Yeah.
parking lot, it goes into the lobby,
Yeah.
but I think the front door.
On the side.
I'm not suggesting you're not going to go find banks with multiple entries. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
as a strategy, they're.
But that building was built when the architectural guidelines for Main Street, the Main Street guidelines were in place, right? So there would have been discussions about that and asking for there probably to be a front door, even if.
There, if you go back, if you go, there's a picture in one of our slides of the building as it was originally built, and you'd be surprised what was there. One more, I believe. Keep going. It's not included. I don't see it. There is a photo that we have. There was a blank panel before.
No, that's it.
Yeah, the upper right-hand corner shows there before the share was at.
So can we go back to the Google? So here's a standing in the Roosevelt intersection, Main Street, Chase Bank. It's pedestrian entrance on the left. There's the main real entrance where most traffic is off the back north side of that bank, coming off the parking lot. Not dissimilar from what you're proposing on yours. And then, of course, we're talking about this store. in concept, like it or not, from this previous architect that did this extension, you know, the reason for it was to kind of activate I mean, without that, this bank and this building with the landscaping is gone. You can't see it. It disappears. And I worry that you are demoing these the first 4 columns and the roof to pull back, and I understand why. But I think we lose something when that just becomes grass in that corner. And I would be very interested I really like the comments from Mr. Heyer. I think either all glass or a little bit of a moment in architecture in that corner and that conference room would be very helpful. I understand that you aren't going to have a front door, and that's going to in the end be a BZA issue. But activating, I think you will have more success by having a landscape plan and activating this corner a bit for the bank, for the city, and bringing this kind of civic space over and through. There is traffic that runs down to Johnson's. There's an outside active area there. So, and the plan is that this is going to continue to get more and more active as more development happens. So I think starting to address that is going to help you go a long way to your arguments. But you know, that is absolutely why this was extended out, was to get some presence, connection to the city and the intersection and the pedestrian way. And I'm happy to criticize the existing architecture.
I would have to agree with you. I also, the reason I was asking about the trees is a lot of these renderings show it the very suburban landscape. And especially being a pretty significant corner in downtown Bexley. I go back to the image and it is dense with trees, and I know it might be city property, but I'm curious to see how this would look with the trees integrated into 3D rendering. I think you'll notice that some of the trees march out along with those columns that were added in the front. I think it would be a mistake if they were removed. In fact, I think you could create a folly very easily in that area that reflects what was there before with columns that could give back to whether it was city as a little pocket park right on the corner, or it could be both, and, you know, a little outdoor patio for the bank that has some sort of a barrier that, you know, that's an outdoor wall that then also acts as something for the public to have. If it wasn't a corner, I don't think it'd have such a issue, but it is such a prominent corner. And a lot of people use that area to cut across to different businesses around the area.
So just to be clear, that the rendering, one, we've not prepared the landscape plan, and we have to go to the landscape and tree committee. Secondly, no trees are being removed, except for the one behind the lamp post. They're all city-owned trees. And I think you can appreciate that had we rendered the trees as they are, you couldn't even see the building. So they were removed for clarity so we could talk about the building.
And Stevie and I actually talked about that too.
Yeah, I want to make sure that everybody
And then
knows.
show it both ways because of exactly what you're saying, but we
Yeah.
didn't get that far.
Well, but so I'm not arguing any of your points about the trees. Certainly not arguing. I mean, that's all hardscape on the corner, even beyond what's under the overhang, the porte cochere. So
And does that hardscape need to even go? I mean, you put some benches out there and kind of have what you were talking about.
we had that, I think that there's some age on that hardscape, so that could be either. And certainly there's going to be some issue when those columns would be removed.
Do they need to be removed?
Those existing columns.
Did you just remove the roof?
I mean, it could be interesting to look at Mr. Heyer's idea of the glass structure being seen through that colonnade of brick columns and keeping the more urban bricks, you know, patio for people to sit.
I like that. Put a cast stone cap on the piers, and they're like the ruins from.
I mean, it could be so cool and less demo. ghost of Banks Pass.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that we see a lot of potential. You know, there's so many different options, but I just think we need to see that more clearly, right?
Ms. Manesca, do you have more that you want to talk about?
No, I was gonna comment on the yellow, but seeing it in person, I think it's fine. I think it would be, whether you do the full yellow or the muted version, you showed the signage on one area, right on the, entry portal, and then the other one is on the side of the building. I feel like it would be a miss to keep it on the building. I would urge you to consider putting it on the actual entry portal.
And that's the preference and that's the standard.
Yeah.
It's just showing Sandy tried to create some variations in, depending on where this discussion went about.
I just want to make one point, and really, I think this is a zoning board issue, but I just want to put it out there. The reason that the enormous yellow, puts up flags to me is that that's very close to residential. So from a second story of somebody's house that lives directly behind there, that's very visible.
Yeah, go ahead.
And the sign ultimately is a BZA as well. So, our Main Street design guidelines call for dark background on light, right, Connie? Right, okay. Connie's a proponent of that. A dark background with light lettering. Staff can approve it if it's per the design guidelines, but ultimately if it's not, then it's automatic BZA. So that will be addressed, the sign with the color and all of that at their meeting as well. But they would probably be looking to you for a recommendation on that.
So the existing sign that we're not changing
Is
is going to be a point of discussion.
Right. It is currently non-conforming with the Main Street design guidelines in our sign code.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna add my comments. So I think that Ms. Panoska has a great idea of creating a folly. I think because we've always had an entrance there, or as long as I've lived on close to this corner, there's been that entrance there. To create a folly there, whether it's a gazebo and then something that if you go there thinking you're going to get into the bank there, even if I'm a new person, your tendency is to want to go to the front of the bank. And then some walkway or something that steers you around to the back of the building. And then I think your sign could become a separate entity, much smaller, and something like a little part of the folly or something that you walk through that is separated from the building. To me, it looks weird that it's slapped onto this prairie style building. So I think if you removed the sign and had it be something that you just walked through and it was a standalone thing, to me, that would be much more interesting. And then I really don't care at all for the addition on the back and that roof. I just don't think that it meshes well with the existing building. And I think you need something that's a little bit more lighter in scale. That just feels like a jack in the box to me, and it just feels really heavy. So I don't know if it's adding a lot more glass or like Mr. Heyer recommended, changing the style of the roof, but lighten it up to me because it just feels very heavy. I'm also a little bit sad about losing the entrance off the front of the building, but I think if you do something to help guide people around so that they don't just go and stand there and can't figure out how to get in, I think it will be much more effective. So that is my 2 cents. So what I'm hearing from the board is that we definitely will want to see this back, but we would like it to let them go to BZAP.
Move it to, you're with that, you're good with that, right?
It would be my recommendation. They're gonna, because this is mostly architectural, right? And in the small variance from the design standards is the front door, which, in my opinion, you all have touched on, what city staff feels like as well with activating the streetscape, and we do see the security consideration with having a front door right there that's never used, right? And so we understand that totally from a city staff perspective. I think moving it to BZAP, they're going to be looking for a recommendation from you. So My advice would be if the applicant is okay with tabling it and coming back to you with some options. Because we have one architect on BZAP and they do have a design style, but in this application specifically, they're going to be looking to you all. So we could try that. I have a sneaking suspicion, it's going to come back to you.
Well, yeah. Well,
And
it
they're
was
going to want to
definitely-
see, they're going to want to see what you,
Well, I think we would ask for it to be remanded back to us either way. So the question is, are we sending it to them before they come back to us in January?
that it would be fine either way. If you made a condition, that'd be
My suggestion is that we move it to BZAP for the December
4th, December 4th.
fourth
Thanksgiving.
meeting, for the November meeting, which is postponed because of Thanksgiving. Just to get their read on the front door.
On the door.
Before you
Right.
go through a lot more work, because they're the ultimate decision maker. I think I'm there, Matt's there. I'll have a staff report for this as well as Matt will really have a staff report. I think it's important for them to see what we talked about. So my suggestion is that we move it. No recommendation, not a positive or a negative. We just move it to BZAP for the December 4th meeting so that they can be pulled into the discussion and aware that when it comes to them in January with your final solution for the architecture, it should be a slam dunk by then.
Then there may be a decision about this color. as
And the
well as
color,
as
and then they
door
can think
location.
about the color.
Good point.
It's.
And then we can.
As long as if you move it with the condition that it be remanded back to you all, then.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That would be.
I think it's
good.
not a positive or
Yeah.
or a negative recommendation that it is moved to BZAP with the condition that it be remanded back to Architecture Review Board for a final design decision. Certificate of appropriateness.
Does that sound okay to you?
Yeah, that's what I'm sort of thinking. Let's go ahead and go to BZA in December. What do we got to lose? We may have to come back to February after January, so.
It should streamline the process actually. 'Cause
Right.
If we go through all of this and then work through a design and they don't approve this or that, then you're coming back.
Exactly.
Again, so.
If
We
I
don't
could
meet
ask,
we don't meet again until January.
right. If I could just ask one other. This is hypothetical. Obviously, the client's sitting right here. We're gonna go back and we're gonna talk about all this stuff. Probably not take a lot of action until BZA. Hypothetical, we're talking about, I like the terminology of a folly. What if we left it alone and still remove the door? What if we addressed the opacity of what we're creating in the conference room? In other words, I'm not sure if we leave the columns and we leave the hardscape and all we do is take the lid off, is it any more or less? I mean, it still performs its existing function, which is a gesture, a handshake to the street, right? But it's no longer, we're not really trying to pull you in. I like the idea that can be addressed with landscaping, decorative railing, low height walls that people could sit on, but impede you from like walking right up to the building looking for a door. So I'm just asking, because as I think about lifting the roof off, but leaving the columns, I don't know where the client's going to be with this. I love playing architect and spending my client's money, but at the end of the day, they're going to have.
He's saving money with less demo,
Yeah.
more sustainable solution.
Oh, hi,
Can we swear you in, please?
Oh, yeah, could you state your name and address for the
Yeah.
record?
Jeff Hartley, First Financial Bank, 225 Victoria Drive, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45246.
And do you swear affirm the testimony you give this evening will be the truth?
Yes,
Thank you, Jeff.
thank you all for your time tonight. We want to be a part of this community. It's a great community, just like Rick Posey said. We want to be the best bank in town, and there's a lot of them. We have a lot of competition. For me, we want to be tied to the street. But I think it's confusing if we put a structure that leads out to the street, but we have no door. So we're seeing transactions go down and down and down. There's fewer and fewer people coming into the bank. I love the idea of creating something on the corner that's attractive, that ties into the building somehow, and that is a gesture to both, you know, the property and the community. I love that. So if I would love to give the K4 direction to move toward that direction before we come back, if that's acceptable.
That sounds great.
Perfect.
Yeah. Love to see that.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak about this application? Okay, then it sounds like we will table this. No, we're remanding it,
Moving it to
moving it.
to BZAP.
To BZAP.
With the condition that it's remanded
That
back
it-
to there.
Okay. So do we have findings of fact when we do that?
That's what we just said.
Okay,
That is the findings.
that is the findings of fact. Okay, is there a board member that will make a motion?
So moved, Panofsky.
Second, higher.
And we'll call the roll.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Hire,
Yes.
Ms. Panoska,
Yes.
Madam Chair Tony,
Yes.
motion passes. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you so much and good luck at BZAP. And we will see you back for January 4th. And if you need to move that beyond
January-
January 4th,
January 8th.
sorry, January 8th, just let staff know.
And I'll update you, but the BZAP meeting is December 4th, this one, because of Thanksgiving. So, and it here at 6 o'clock. For BZAP? This is you filled out a BZAP application, so it goes to both. Yeah, you're good. Yep. And I did put you on the Tree and Public Garden Commission meeting for next week, just in case. I wasn't sure if you're gonna have a landscape plan in time, but I'll update them and let them know that you're going through this process. I wasn't sure how quick all this would take place. I wanted to give you. Yeah, that's what Sandy said, that we're totally fine with that, and, so, okay.
Okay, our next application is number ARB 25-69. The address is 565 to 571 Sheridan, Unit 500. The applicant is Ann Taylor. The owner is LGR Investments, Larry Rubin. The applicant is seeking approval for the removal of a slate roof and replacing it with an asphalt roof.
I'm Ann Taylor.
Can we swear you in, please?
Ann Taylor, 86 Lambeers Drive, Granville, Ohio. Yes.
Okay, and can you give us a update as to why you're asking to remove this slate roof?
Well, it is leaking right now and it's the past couple years, it has been repaired with blue tarps on it. And the substrate of the roof is deteriorating and it's not safe to make any more repairs, even to the slate. So we want to keep the roofers, safe that's doing that. But we currently have, it's occupied with tenants and we would like to replace it with shingles versus slate because this is going to become part of a bigger development in 2 to 3 years where the whole building will be torn down and become, a mixed use type of development. So there are already plans, but there's been talk back and forth about buying more capital land, which, changes those plans, but they are already, passed in the development stage. So for sure, this will be, taken down and brought into a new development. So they're just trying to spare the expense of, not putting the slate roof on. So I think I submitted that slate roof is approximately like $80,000. The shingle is, like $22,000.
And was all this put in the packet? Because I never saw anything on this application.
Here. What I have here.
It was, okay, because I did not see that.
There was
Yeah.
photos and a price comparison.
Yeah, so and so, yes, I didn't have a chance to double check what Ann sent me this a couple days ago, the estimate and the pictures. I had a chance to drag that over from my email into this. So this has been on the website. So these are the pictures and the estimate. I didn't have a chance to double check with what Ann put in the ARB application that I was planning on uploading, but I figured it was approximately the same because she had all photos in the ARB application with no estimate, and I emailed her and said, we need you need to get a slate estimate. So she sent me all the photos again. I believe this is everything. So
When was the last time this was actually repaired with slate? Like, how long have the blue tarps been up?
Around 3 years. We keep on going over it with more, this would be.
could you,
Before you tear it off.
Can you
Second.
come up and be sworn in, please?
two things. I need you to state your name and address to be sworn in. Then also, yeah, we got to get captured on the recording. So you got to speak into the mic.
Jim Ely, Summit Building and Roofing.
And do you swear or affirm the testimony you give this evening will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Speak into the mic.
It's been 3 years ago since the last time we put slate on it. There's just so much of it that's going bad and breaking off. And we can't afford, well, the more tarps we put on, the more we break it all up. The areas that, because there's slate wood, there's wood that's nailed into the slate, and the tarps are holding down the tarp. So every time we add a tarp, we put more wood down, which breaks more of the slate. Right now, I would say there's over 150 pieces of the slate that's broke.
So that's how you put the tarps on, is you took a nail and you nailed.
Take a nailer,
Wood over it.
nailer, and then nail it down in. It's the only way you can keep that. I mean, there's nothing else to nail in there, so you can't just nail straight into a slate tile without wood right there to keep it in its position.
Have you ever had a slate company out here to do repairs to slate? To actually repair the slate?
Possibly, it might have been before my time with Plaza.
How many years has that been?
I've been back probably like 3 years.
Okay, is there anything else that you want to add?
The only thing I can add is that my roofers won't go back on the roof anymore. It's unsafe. Everywhere you step, the tiles snap off and slide down. And the only way that we can see going forward is to replace the roof.
Okay, is there a board member that would like to ask questions about this?
3 years ago, when the repair started, was there an option to actually replace slate with slate? Was the damage substantial enough that it warranted, a tarp? Because to me, a tarp is something a bit more temporary than 3 years. And so I was just curious about has there been a discussion about replacing the slate with slate patchwork based on where that was several years ago?
I've been with Summit for 18 months. And since the moment I got here and the first time I went out there were tarps all over the whole back of the roof. And that's when I met Ann, and we've been we've been wanting to replace it. But the whole conversation with the owner is that property was going to be bulldozed and eventually a whole new complex put there. And he did not want to spend, he said unnecessary money on a slate roof where he could use it somewhere else in the new building that
Even with the shingle roof, wouldn't see the benefit, the long-term benefits of a new roof. But he's thinking that to keep, housing for Bexley and for it not to look like blue tarps, a shingle roof would be better. Even though, it's not gonna, he'll never see the benefit of him spending this money. It's better than what we have right now.
And you said the new development has already been submitted? I didn't,
No, not submitted, but it has been with an architect and developed.
But then why is there 2 to 3 years before something is going to happen with it? Are you trying to acquire more property around it for that
Yeah.
project to work?
Yeah.
And if you don't acquire that property, what happens?
We stay with the original footprint of the development that we have right now.
And would these be torn down?
Yes.
So no matter whether you acquire new property or not, a project is coming forth,
Yes,
it's definitely going to happen, and these are definitely being torn down.
absolutely.
So is there some way that, because I've watched these properties, they are visible from Main Street. This has been an eyesore for a long time. And I've watched cute little garages with slate roofs just crumble. The blue tarps, come and go. And I feel like we kind of need some, because we don't just let everybody tear off slate roofs or maintain them so poorly. Because part of that, to me, I think, well, part of your problem is the way you were trying to address, the situation, rather than just having someone come out and repair the slates that were malfunctioning. So how do we get, as a board, how do we get an assurance that this will be torn down in the next couple of years? If we approve this?
What do you want? Would you like to see the plans, what we've developed already? Would that help?
I don't know, Matt,
Yeah,
can you
so
answer my question?
just in general. So again, I've only been at this a year, and 5 months in this role, but I've met with, Ann and Mr. Rubin and, many times over the last year. And, I would say from everything that I've researched and gathered, they're closer now than they ever have been. So I hear you in the past. There's a lot of exciting conversations happening. I think the whole capital thing, that's a big piece of it. But I have seen, actually, I think 2 sets of drawings, just based on this site, along with the gravel parking lot, that whole frontage on Main and the development that would go there. And, I think there's optimism that they can acquire more land. However, they are committed to developing that frontage on Main Street, and it's closer. And with things that have happened over the past 9 months, they're closer now than they ever have been. I'm confident in saying that. So,
Okay. Okay, other board members that have questions?
Yeah, I think my main questions were around just understanding, is this really getting torn down? Because I think if this were a normal slate replacement with an asphalt shingle roof, we generally say no. But I think understanding some more context, again, working in German Village, I know firsthand that slates that are coming loose are incredibly hazardous, particularly if there are children. So I think this is definitely has some extenuating circumstances around it, that I think we should consider. It's a shame that it's been tarped and not dealt with for 3 years, and I think we just have to accept that and move on and deal with it. But yeah, I think I appreciate the context and understanding kind of the future plans for the space.
I also wanted to remind the board members, and I'm not pro or con, I'm just reminding everybody that as part of the land use plan, this is part of the area that's been identified. So regardless of the history of this developer owner, it is the desire of Bexley that this area be redeveloped. So I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's
helpful.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, shucks, because I saw that price for slate roof and compared to the asphalt, that there wasn't, I mean, normally we see a much bigger difference. And I'm looking at that price going, you're gonna get a 300-year roof for $82,000. That's amazing. But I can't because you're not gonna keep it for 300 years. It's not gonna be here for 300 years. I would just ask that when you do the temporary asphalt, in order to, I think, and I don't know about the other materials on this house, how well they've been kept up, you know, the wood trim, the eave, all of that looks like it's deteriorated. I don't know what to say. I mean, initially I thought, well, you should at least use a nicer shingle like a Grand Manor or, you know, something that like a slate line that at least had some of the lines, you know, characteristics of the old slate. I'm not so sure that we need to do that. So I don't have any other points.
Mr. Scott, do you have anything?
Well, first, we can't make our decisions based on things that might happen. Future plans, I have obviously seen the land use, have been part of discussions. And, you know, it's very exciting with stuff. And I know this property is tied to the property along Main Street and there's been desire over the last 10 years to develop that. So understand all of that. This could sit 10 more years easily. So if that's the case, then let's look at what the history of the project is. And it's clearly not been in repair. It's been duct taped with blue tarps for 3 years. Maybe because of I don't even know. I don't want to speculate of maybe because they think it was coming down or not. And I'm guessing there's not a lot of history of like repair because it seems like it was neglected and then tarped because it was beyond repair. So that is an indication that there was no maintenance and repair over the years. If there was paperwork, which we typically require, we would want to see that back up in those and that kind of repair schedule. But I'm not seeing any of that. So you know, it's tough because we really try to maintain and keep these roofs. But I get it. I understand that. Why would you spend 10,000 or $5 more if you know it's going to come get torn down? And there is a wish for the city for this area to be looked at and developed. And I'm confident based on who we are and where we are in our city that it's probably going to happen. But, you know, I've seen developments take 10, 15 years to do that. So, I'm reluctant to just kind of say, well, since you may be planning to tear it down, that we'll just throw up the cheapest shingle you possibly can. Because I also agree, you know, we have accepted shingle roofs, but we asked for the step up, not even the architectural shingles. We look at things that are more reminiscent, either cedar or the actual slate roof. So, but then if you overlay the argument that it's going to get torn down in a couple of years, then why would you do that either? It seems like a waste of money. So, you know, as a board, we try to incorporate all the different factors, but we can't really make our decisions based on things that are speculative. So for me, it comes down to there's really not a history of maintenance on this. It's been tarped for 3 years, which I'm a little surprised hasn't been flagged as a violation. But no, I don't know. You've only been here 15 months, so maybe you haven't seen it. I don't know. I just think it's, you know, looking at Google, all the Google images up through 2024, I don't see blue tarps. So maybe it was on certain areas of the back of the property, but.
If I may,
Yes.
you read my mind because I was going back to on the auditor site. It's on the back pitch that you can't see from Main Street.
Yeah.
There's tarps on the sort of the back side of it.
Okay, great.
So
You know, I just think there's no history. There's no, the last 3 years it's been tarped and which is really ignoring. It's not a fix in any way, shape or form. It's an emergency effort. And then also, which is surprising that the emergency effort is tarped and then it's just nothing has been done about it. We haven't seen this or heard about this. And it's just been ignored while people still live there. So I'm a little surprised about that. And maybe that's because of possibilities of land development. I don't know. So, you know, as a board, our decision is to try to maintain the character of the city. And it's not based on speculative work. It's based on what we deal with today. So if we were going to go for asphalt shingle, I would have to say we need to look at at least the architectural shingle that gives some character and some depth to that shingle.
Kind of
while
like
we-
the slate line?
Yes. To give some character to the property while we wait for development in the interim.
Yeah, I don't really have any more questions. I think I've asked them all, so. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak about this application? Okay, seeing no one. So do we want to just go ahead and vote? Is that what you want us to do?
Facts and findings and conclusions of law for application number ARB 2569 for the property located at 565-571 Sheridan Unit 500. The Architecture Review Board issues a certificate of appropriateness for the removal of a slate roof and replacing it with an asphalt roof with the condition that the roof be an architecturally dimensional
Shingle.
shingle,
Mhm.
such as slate line.
That's my ask.
I think that's appropriate because it really could be quite a few years.
Yeah, with the slate line, it's really hard to, it does look like slate up there. It's just not, it's
Okay.
just an asphalt, but it
Understood.
obviously doesn't last as long as
Understood.
slate line or slate.
So that's some findings. Do I need a motion?
Do they understand?
Oh, do you understand this?
Is there a board member that will make a motion?
So moved, Scott.
Second, Jones.
Mr. Hire,
Yes.
Ms. Penofsky,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Madam Chair Tony.
No,
Motion passes.
you are approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next application is old business. It is ARB 25-52. The address is 480 North Columbia Ave. The applicant is Jim Douglas. The owner is Lynn Barno, and the applicant is seeking architectural review and approval of a certificate of appropriateness to replace the existing cedar shake roof to dimensional asphalt shingles.
Hello.
When Matt gets back, he will swear you in.
Sorry.
You're all good.
You state your name and address, please.
Jim Douglas, 2223 Reynoldsburg, New Albany Road, Blacklick, Ohio.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give this evening will be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hello. Last month, when I was here, there was a lot discussed, and I'd like to thank you for giving the options that were presented to me. Mr. Calhoun, who's not here, suggested possibly an upgraded certainty shingle that more closely resembles the wood shake. And Mr. Hire suggested that possibly a synthetic or polymer shingle might be a little bit more affordable with the same appearance. So the synthetic wood shake shingles do closely resemble the cedar shake. However, the price is very close, maybe 10 to 15% less than the cedar shake shingles. The Certainty presidential shingle is a definite upgrade, step up from the Landmark Pro that I presented last month. Lynn Barno, the homeowner, her main concerns were the insurance company said that she needed to replace the roof, the wood shake roof, to obtain coverage. which she knew the roof had to be replaced by the inspections at the time of the purchase. Lynn has expressed to me that approaching her golden years in life, she would like to have a maintenance-free roof. The cedar shingles do require regular maintenance. Suzanne has told me she has a wood shake roof on her house, which she likes a lot and gives the house charm. And where Lynn's house is situated, there's a lot of trees around, and there's been severe algae growth and deterioration of the wood, and it would require regular maintenance to keep the roof in good shape. I also expressed last month about the big price difference between the two, and anyways, the photos that I put up of the presidential shingle, I purchased a bundle of the presidential shingles and put them on a board. Do you have that picture? Yes. And that's the one that CertainTeed made to look most like the wood shake shingles. Like I say, I put them on a board with a separated on the bottom with a laminated wood LP shake siding, which Lynn is eventually going to have to change the siding because the cedar siding on her house is deteriorating as well. So that's why I put that the wood shake below it. She doesn't have any intention of putting vinyl siding on, but I know that that's not what this meeting is about. So we feel the presidential shingle does a nice job that can effectively mimic the natural wood shake shingles. And Lynn is asking for your approval to use the CertainTeed presidential shingle for her roof replacement.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wants to speak about this application? Nope. Okay. Is there a board member then that would like to go first? Ms. Panaska?
Well, I wasn't here last month, so I can't speak to everything that was said, but I can react to the images. I mean, it's pretty clear that there are areas of the roof that are beyond repair, and it clearly needs to be replaced. I keep going from the sample image and toggling between that and particularly this image. And I do see the resemblance in the variation of the texture and the color. So I'm okay if we had to switch to this type of roof replacement.
Ms. Jones?
I was not here last month either, but I guess my hesitation comes in losing a beautiful shake roof that we knew had to be replaced at the time of purchase. So I think, you know, there's a little bit of hesitation on my part just in getting away from, I mean, if you zoom out, you know, I don't think it's going to look the same with the proposed material. So I have some hesitation about that, but again, I wasn't here last month to hear the full discussion, so I'll defer to other board members to make some comments.
Yeah, we did discuss briefly last month that Lynn was not apprised by her realtor or the architect that she hired when she initially got into the house that it was going to have to be approved by the architectural board if she wanted to replace the cedar shake roof with anything else but cedar shake. And I know that falls back on buyer beware, but she didn't know what she was getting into.
Understood.
She bought the house because her sister lives right next door and she was prodded by her sister to move next door.
That's helpful.
And
Thank
were
you.
you a Bexley resident before? Mr. Hire?
I have no comments.
Mr. Scott?
I was here, and I appreciate the efforts, and I'm sorry, I love the mock-up. We don't ever see that or rarely ever see that on a residential project. I like the siding isn't obviously a match to the cedar. Without doing cedars, you can get into vinyl products and they're terrible. So I appreciate you going and suggesting, though it's not part of this review, that would be the long-term plan of doing a cement board style. I think that's very appropriate. I would love to see a little more depth and shadow on that product, but I get it. So anyway, going to the roof, I know we discussed multiple products last time. Mr. Hire, I believe, talked about different products that gave shake looks and slate looks that are a little bit more in depth, and they're alternate than just this asphalt shingle. But if in an asphalt line, this product does perform and gives a greater texture to the roof, which starts to resemble the shake, the cedar roof. It does not look like cedar. It never will. But it does give a texture to the overall surface of that roof that starts to mimic that and kind of articulate that design. So I appreciate that look and effort. And in the end, I understand all the circumstances, and we try to work with the applicants. But I in a way I agree with Miss Jones on like it is painful because it is the character of this house is driven by the cedar. It really is. And it's going to lose that. It's going to lose that unless you replace like for like. It's going to be very different. What we are as a board charged with is trying to fight for when we can to keep those materials, but when not possible, to fight for or to promote the best use of replacements. And I think you're well on your way to that, and I appreciate that investment. So, I think I'm in favor of the proposed solution with that asphalt shingle presidential series.
I think that every one of these applications that comes before us is a different situation. And to me, the one that sticks out is that this is something that you just recently purchased. And you lived in Bexley, you had a slate roof, you knew what it is to maintain a roof. And I don't think it's on a realtor to tell you that when you buy something that is this charming, I mean, your house is charming. And it is all because of the finishes. And you're going to strip off 2/3 of the charm of this house and turn it into something less charming. And in my mind, 1/3 less charming than what it is. It gives me heartache to take something this charming and put asphalt on the roof and take all the shake off the sides. So I'm probably not in favor of this.
When I told Lynn about the meeting last month, I told her the discussion and the options, and I said that the board gave options to meet partway, and I said, but the downside is the chairperson has a wood shake roof
that she loves very much, and she knows it adds charm. So, and there's one thing we didn't talk about tonight, but it's still there, is the huge difference in expense from even though the residential shingle is one of the more expensive of the asphalt shingles, it's still far away from the cedar shake or the vinyl shake. And there's definitely a budgetary concern.
Yeah, I totally understand that. As I put those roofs on my house, I know what the costs were, so I appreciate that. So would you like to go to a vote?
Yes.
Do we have findings of fact?
The findings of fact and conclusions of law for application. Oh, sorry. Findings in fact and conclusions of law for the application number ARB 25-52 for the property located at 480 North Columbia. The Architectural Review Board grants a certificate of appropriateness to replace the existing cedar shake roof in disrepair to dimensional asphalt shingles with the condition that they be the presidential series as presented in the materials at the meeting.
Do you understand the findings of facts as they have been read?
I'm sorry.
Do you understand the findings of fact as they have
Yes.
been read? Is there a board member that will make a motion?
So moved, higher.
Second, Panofsky.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Panofska,
Yes.
Ms. Jones, Mr. Hire,
No.
Madam Chair Tony,
No.
motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we will go back to the two applications that we came to earlier that were not here. We have application ARB 25-59, the address 141 North Ardmore. Is that applicant here? No? Okay, and application ARB 25-66, the address is 791 South Roosevelt. Is that applicant here? Okay, please. I will read this again. The applicant is Steve Miller. The owner is John Grittner. The applicant is seeking architectural review and approval of a certificate of appropriateness for a two-story addition to the rear of the home and a restoration of the front porch. Okay, will you give us a little overview of your project?
Would you like them sworn in?
Oh, yes, please.
Could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Steve Miller, 800 Cross Point, Gahanna.
Do you swear from the testimony you give this evening will be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
You want me to give a little staff background?
Yes, please.
This application is before the board for the first time. I have had several conversations with Mr. Miller about it. I did have some originally concerned, greater than I do now, but I still have some concerns. Originally there were no windows at all. Just trying to do two things at one time, sorry. There were no windows on, I can't remember which elevation I'm trying to pick. And the applicant has since added windows, and that elevation was, sorry. Oh, that's the old one.
That's the old one.
The old right elevation. So I will bring up the other one, but this is the originally there. But let's just move to the back elevation. I still have some pretty big concerns about this this roof. And there's been some work on it on the top of the roof, which I'll pull up the other drawings, but I still have some concerns about how holistic the original house is and how this is broken into so many pieces, and it just has a different kind of slope and a different kind of massing, and kind of looks like a different style. I also have an issue with this transom window here. I think it's very foreign to the language of the house. And in fact, not all the windows are double hung, and I think there's an opportunity to use some of the existing shapes in a different way that could be more appropriate than the transom. But I think the massing first needs to be looked at on the rear of the home, on this addition. I'm gonna leave it at that, because I think we're gonna probably have some discussion in depth about all of this with the board, and I'll give you the opportunity as well. This must be your videos. Better?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the newer version, which has been on the website. I just clicked on the wrong thing just now. Which shows the original house, which had a clipped roof, which I thought was a kind of a shame to get rid of that. It's quirky and, you know, it's respectfully, as you guys like to say. So that was changed on the back, but I still think this really, you know, I wonder why it's not all in one piece. There's the new elevation, yes, but they're not windows, they're shutters to mimic windows. I still think it's a mistake not to have windows on any elevation at all, no windows. So everywhere that I kind of thought there should be some windows, Mr. Miller has put in, mimic the proportion and size of the windows with shutters. I'll go ahead and let you present whatever I missed.
Good. Thank you for having us. Go to the site plan. Please.
Is the site plan in this packet? In the new packet? The old one.
The old one.
And I'm going to apologize in advance for this laser.
You're shooting it off.
It was in my binder. I didn't realize. I tried to order one for our cats to play with, and I got this.
Is it burnt paper?
Yeah, like you can Morse code to the lunar astronauts. So I'll be careful with it. So the original idea with this, so the original intent, the homeowner, they're here tonight. They're new residents of Bexley within the year. And so the original idea was they just wanted to go along the width of the house and just go straight back. And that was the intent. That's what we started to do. What we ran into, if you look at this here, the location of the garage, it just it does create this curve. So in extending the house or the addition back, it infringed in that and it restricted access to the garage. So one of the things that we looked at was, what if we flip the access to the garage, accessing from the alleyway? And in looking at that, this particular garage takes full advantage of the 3-foot setback to the property line. And with that and the width of the alleyway and the elevation change, the turning radius getting into that was restricted. So it just wasn't possible to get in there from the alleyway. So what I tried to do is still be able to match the programming that they were looking for with a growing family. There's a little one coming in February. They said maybe January. And so with that, so we were able to meet the needs of their intent on the program. The size is a little smaller because we still needed to clear that driveway and still be able to get access into the garage. So we'll go to the photos, please. So there, as we looked at that with the addition on the back, we were also kind of evaluating the whole, the entire home, the whole property, and found a couple of things that we need to address also. We'll start with the back. Let's see, first off, we can, which screen would you like to look at? Okay, This area here it really needs fixed. Yeah, it's more like a deck. It's a platform that was, this is predates the current owners, but somebody had attempted to wall that in to make it it's just wood panel. So they've got a covered entry, and then for good measure, they added this door that goes out to that area, which is right beside the bathtub on the second floor. So the other thing that we really tried to do, and this kind of plays off of what Ms. Boker was talking about, was there is the jerkin head roof is a little flat piece on the top. And or where the top of the gable is clipped. It is charming, and it is, yeah, you see it around. It's not super common, but it is common enough that it's not unusual. But we also wanted to keep that if we could. So initially, we didn't think we could keep it. After speaking with advice and design consult, we were able to come up with a way to keep that both on the front and the back, incorporate that in there. It's just a charming little piece of neighborhood local. So we would like to keep that. The third issue that we ran into was, where can we access and still maintain and cover their programming? So we took this piece, I guess that would fall under local vernacular, yes. So technically a covered deck on that, but we were going to rebuild that, turn it into a pantry, made it 2-story, access the door that's there, and into a laundry room off of the bathroom and the new master bedroom on the second floor. We also, this made it easier for utilities. As they come right in the back, it just moves a little bit closer to the garage, to the access. Other issue that we ran into, just in looking at the existing home, is the front porch. And that was the stairs coming off the porch. They come off the side and into the driveway. They also stick out beyond the edge of the house. It just creates a safety hazard. And there's also the issue of that center column. The brick column was no longer there. It was some time ago replaced with a 4x4 wood turned spindle and propped up on some cinder block. So that was added to the scope was to move the stairs to the front, which I think was a little more original to the design intent, and then replace that center brick column to match the 2 on the end, and at the railing, and just create a more inviting entry. So those are the kind of the 2 phases on this, the front and the back. The interesting thing that we ran into, and I remember from previous sessions here about blank walls and about size and length of building. So if we could go to the floor plan.
He's asking you to go to the floor plan, Karen.
Floor plan?
Maybe the new one, sorry. I'm gonna put you through the paces.
No, just if.
Yeah, all right, so in dealing with lot restrictions, that also limited the size of what we were able to accomplish in programming. So the three exterior walls, there are three walls that were just begging for windows. It's that balance of form and function. When we put a window there, it takes up the wall that eliminates the function of the room. In the family room, that's the TV wall. And upstairs on the second floor in the bedroom, that's kind of the dresser or the bed wall. So we really kind of struggled with that on about how to light that room, and how to get the windows that it's kind of begging for. So it was that balance of good form on the exterior that turned it into poor function on the inside, and trying to balance that. So we tried to come up with some level of ornamentation or some fixture there that we could put on the house that would take up the space, but not necessarily eliminate the function of the room.
Anything else?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wants to speak about this project? Okay, is there a board member that would like to go first?
So I think a couple of things off the bat. I think I would challenge you to re-examine the massing. I think it feels very chopped up, and I understand that you were trying to follow the curvature of the drive, but I think there's some other things that you could do that would lead both to an exterior to feel more pleasing, but also the interior function.
Mhm.
I mean, I think, Karen, could you go back to first floor if you don't mind? I think regularizing the shape of that family room could go a long way to improving just the appearance of the exterior, and might also improve the interior flow. And I would challenge you to add back in windows, even if there's a TV wall or a bed wall. We do windows on our bed walls all the time. You can place the bed in between two windows and place nightstands in front of the window. I don't think it precludes you. I'm sure your clients would be benefited, and you may have already shown them this, but I think it can go a long way towards telling the story, to just drop some furniture in a plan for them to help them kind of understand context of, hey, the bed might go here and we still have plenty of room to do windows, which I think will just really improve. I think some of the problems that we're seeing on the facade, as well as, solving the problem of just getting appropriate lighting into the space. I mean, I think it probably has a way to go before it's in the best spot it could be. But I think those are some things to start with. And congratulations on the baby.
Mr. Heyer?
Yeah, I agree with that, those comments, for sure. There are a couple of things that I think just to consider in terms of how to lay out some of these rooms that might be helpful. And in particular, if you look at the second floor, I see you've got the new bath, you got the double sink in the shower. That door right here will not function. There's not enough room here for your arms and to bring things in and out of this room by putting the door in this tight corridor with just barely enough to get the casing on. This door should be here. Okay, I know you want to tuck it away from the bedroom, but you got a big bedroom. In order to make this door function properly, it needs to be here. If you look at all these other doors, you have room, on the lever side or the knob side, whatever you're using, to be able to open and move freely. But this one is pinched. So that needs to be looked at. Also, well, on the first floor, the powder room, I think is part of the problem of why this family room doesn't work. This powder room is just a rectangle that's stuck into what could be a really enjoyable family room here. And powder rooms don't always need to be side by side, right? I don't know where your plumbing is, but when we did our addition, we did the toilet like this and put the sink here. There are lots of really cute sinks that, don't take up much space, and you can cut this room down in size, or you could find another location for it, for instance, back here. I know that's far away from the center, and I get that. We put ours right here in the same kind of location, but what we did was we had it skinnier, and then on this side, we actually had a built-in like winter closet for the kids. So it actually created another long wall here that defined a rectangle. There was a cased opening, 2 cased openings, and then there was a powder room, and then there was a built-in closet. And you just have shutters here anyway, so you could define a much nicer family room and still have your powder and add some more storage. You don't have a lot of storage, which is kind of surprising to me, when you're putting on this much of an addition, that yes, a pantry is nice, but I'm not seeing a lot of storage here. And I can tell you that a lot of South Bexley homes, that is something that is lacking in general. And I think it would be in your best interest for your client to show how you can add more storage, within the footprint of the house. Exteriorly, yes, definitely the gambrel, or whatever we want to call it, the clipped roof is a beautiful detail that should be kept. The stepping of all of the forms on the side needs to be relooked at. And I would say that back elevation in particular, with the arrangements, there needs to be more uniformity, and I think there needs to be more of the massing character of the original house. This doesn't feel like it's part of this house. And I think some of the points that Ms. Jones was making about the proportions of these rooms will help you to resolve that. But window locations and scale of windows. But I think there's a lot of good things happening here. And I think any addition that you put on the back of a house in South Bexley is going to increase, the value dramatically. But the space is, you have so much limited space to work with. You have to make the most out of every square foot that you can. And that means creating spaces that are completely functional, that have lots of light. And that's what drives up the value. When I first looked at houses in South Bexley back in 2001, 2002, when we were moving here, we looked in South Bexley a lot of houses, and a lot of them had really, really bad additions. I remember going into one, not that we have all night, but this addition they built a fireplace in the middle of this family room. There was no family room left. It was a fireplace with a hearth on one side of it that you could barely sit on, and this chimney going up, and there was shag carpet and there was red brick. It's like it hadn't been touched since 1974. But it was a bad addition, and the materials were bad. Okay, Bexley we don't do that anymore. Okay, so what I'm encouraging you to do is to look at better proportions for these spaces and using every square inch really to build something that is, because the cost to build this stuff is not getting any cheaper. You don't want badly designed, laid out spaces, and you definitely don't want to be spending, money on those materials, drywall, trim, flooring, for a space that's not functional. So.
Ms. Panoska?
First, I agree with all the comments that they've mentioned. I would urge you to reconsider adding windows, at least on the upstairs new bath. Always nice to have a window in the bathroom. You can crack it a little bit open for ventilation, or just for natural light. And do some configuration with the bed. Maybe the bed is, you know, you walk in and it's in front of you and it's, you know, between the walk-in closet and the window that's going to be more or less in front of that door. There are options to how you can lay out your furniture that would maximize natural light. I think this would be an amazing space. It's missing natural light. Another thing I'd ask you to consider is look at the proportion and the spacing of the windows on the first floor in the family room. You know, in the current living room on the first floor, you have this triple window at the front. You know, could you consider doing something where you bank the windows together? So if you did, you know, do something similar to the powder room that Mr. Heyer was mentioning, you know, perhaps you could center that triple bank where the central area of the family room could be, or flip it. You know, you say, well, I don't want to look at my neighbors. I'd rather have, you know, a visual to back or, you know, my driveway so I can watch the kids play. There are options to it. I felt like the 3 windows with the really wide spacing just made the proportion of it feel a little strange. I like the idea of tucking powder rooms where you can. I do like the idea of centralizing plumbing, but you know, man, if you can hide that powder room behind that back door and that little nook to the right, you've opened up everything or what you can do in that family room significantly. So the other comment I had was with what you've done with the front porch, like I said, I really appreciate the detail of going back and restoring that center column and giving that life back to the porch and centering the new stairs on the front entry. I think all those are great moves. Consider doing something just as nice in the back. I noticed from the last drawings to these drawings, you went from something wider as an entry, you know, deck to the back to something a lot narrower. And I'm thinking, I have kids and I've got groceries and I've got book bags after school. And, you know, a 3-foot little thing like that is going to bottleneck you. And it's going to be really hard to get everyone in and out. So think about the flow of how you come and go. Those are all things I'd urge you to consider.
Mr. Scott.
I couldn't agree more about that powder room. That definitely wants to live on the back. That'll give you an 18-foot by 16-foot family room square. Right now, it's an 8-foot hallway. So I think that would be much more efficient, which that would also potentially allow you to do is shorten this building a little bit. You know, 18 feet by 16 feet is a fairly large family room. So pushing that in a little bit maybe gives you a little bit more room for a bigger deck, because I think that definitely would want a wider place to come in and out of my house. I've always enjoyed the houses I've had. I've had one narrow one. It was always difficult. Wider ones are much easier with kids' bags. It'll just be more functional. The first floor is very deceiving. And when we do additions, the addition typically is always secondary to the main mass. And on this floor plan, like, great, we pull in off of the kitchen and we've pulled in off the family room, but that family room is a bay window. It's a bay mass. You've actually aligned, if you go to the second floor, please, the exterior walls actually of the bedroom, top bedroom, middle bedroom, and now new bedroom, that now facade is all flat and there's no step in that massing. And that's something that we typically don't like to see. So I know you're tight here. We just talked about the door, and I think that's a great suggestion to move that door. But, you know, 6 inches to a foot to be able to pull that in reduces your construction cost a little bit, but then it breaks the massing down. So I would definitely make a recommendation for that. You do have challenges with the roof and how you would step that roof or have a larger overhang, but I'm sure you can work through that. Can we keep going on the drawings? Love that you brought back the clipped gable. I do like the wider steps. The front porch is much nicer than what you have now. So I think I like all of that. I also like how you're showing the existing house, though it's not accurate, because of some of the quirkiness, and the quirky in a bad way, of the way the eaves are detailed in this siding, aluminum and or wood siding conversion from the original architecture is really kind of chopped up and I think taken away from the character of the original house that I'm sure of. This porch is not something that you would typically design where you had the columns coming right up and sitting, supporting the the soffit, you would have a beam. And actually, if you go to the photograph, there is a beam. The original house has been, the beam is there, it's visible, the columns are sitting correctly on it. If you zoom into the left one, if you can, I know that's gonna be difficult. When they added the new cladding, they flattened out the eave, the soffit, and it doesn't rise up. I'm almost convinced that the eaves rose up at an angle. Here they're flat. So now your drawing is actually correct, because if you're representing what's there, it's all just this kind of flat
Yeah.
mass. I don't like that. I think that's it's not true to the original nature of the house. And if you look at the second floor eave, the extension of the gables is correct, but then they've boxed out and Mr. Heyer can correct me if that's a historical detail, but they boxed out the soffit when it meets the massing of the house. And I'm assuming that's the vinyl siding or aluminum siding characteristics at the time, correct? They just kind of flattened it out instead of keeping the angle of the
So you can see it.
the framing.
That pops out.
See that little triangle
No, that would have all been angled
angle? So when you say you're trying to match the existing addition, I was like, no, please don't match that.
Yeah.
I would love you to see, I don't know how much work is happening on the rest of it, but I would love to take that back to its original character. It'll go a long way in bringing the character back to this house. I love that you're keeping the clipped gable on the front. I would be open to it going away on the back, and there may be some objection here, because I think that would help you, give you some room to fix that massing and not have that weird angle coming out to that one addition. I think that doesn't work at all. And I think that would go a long way to help cleaning up the stepping, because then the stepping can just happen in the naturals as the massing changes. So I think in general, it's a good approach. I know you're saying you're kind of maximizing the space of the footprint in the site plan. That you have to balance that, because when they get too tight, it's really uncomfortable and doesn't work. So having some exterior space on these South Bexley properties is important. You get a lot more use of that property. But I think that some of the stuff that's happened to this house over the years, I would love to see it go back a bit to its original, and where all your soffits match your angle of your roof. You can see here the bay window has been flattened out on the left there. And yeah, there's some siding. I'm assuming you're repairing the siding on the
Oh,
front
yeah,
porch, yeah. Is that original? That's the thin horizontal? Do you think I think that looks original to me. Is it
Yeah,
wood?
Yeah, it's wood, it's vinyl, it's aluminum.
There's aluminum, it looks like there's some aluminum there.
Right,
The
there's,
corners
yeah.
falling off. So, yeah, I know. And
It's
it's
Heinz
great that this is
57.
getting worked on. It's going to be a beautiful home, but
Yeah.
so there's some challenges. I think it's just, and I think the work on the front porch, widening the steps, how awesome is that? Because we're a front porch community. It's just connection to the sidewalk is fantastic. So,
So Ms. Boker and I were talking about that little clipped piece, and we were both intrigued by it. So I did a little research, and it's Bavarian original, called the Jerkin head, like the
Jerkin.
pickle,
Mhm.
Jerkin
Jerkin.
with a J.
Yep.
And the idea was it minimized uplift.
really?
Or it reduced, not minimized, but it
Is it-
reduced.
That's just.
So,
So overall, I think you're well on your way. I think there's some fine tuning. I think giving, if that clipped Jurgen roof,
Jerkin head,
Jer-
yeah, I'm gonna ask about that.
Jaeger,
next time.
Jurgen,
Okay.
I would say Jurgen. It's much less prominent when you put all the addition on, so I'm not so worried about maintaining it on the back. I love that it stays on the front. I think it's important.
I have one more comment. I'm sorry.
No, please, no, jump in. No, I
Um,
do it all the time.
Would you consider putting an awning at the back? I keep looking at that back deck. It's not for entry.
Like fabric of some sort?
No, I would just, even like a little asphalt, something.
On the stairs?
On the stairs, as you're walking in, just a covering, something to keep you out of the elements as you're fussing with keys and things like that. I also feel like it'll help break up just how sterile the back looks at the moment.
Sure.
And I'm a big no on all the shutters, by the way, just for the record. Even two windows on the facade would help break that down, and the shutters aren't helping.
Don't limit him.
5 windows is minimum.
One window in a bedroom. You're gonna be sorry with only one window in a bedroom.
Okay, so are you done? No, thank you. So it's, to me, it's a little bit of shame. Is the garage in great shape? Okay, because to me, the placement of the garage is creating this three-tiered addition, which is much more costly than just a box. Okay, every time you do a corner, it adds more money to the project. And so you're doing this three-tiered, which is really looking at the elevation, it's really more than that, because we're asking you to move the whole addition in at least 6 inches to a foot on each side. So now we've got step backs on this side. We've got 4 step backs on this side. And to me, it's all just so complicated for such a elegantly simple house that if the garage is going to come down anyway and be rebuilt, would the same money that you would save by building just a simple addition, box addition on the back, build you a brand new garage, rather than all of these steps and all the stuff that you're doing to try to accommodate a driveway that if you could enter off the alley, you get your yard back, that you can actually play in it and put up a swing set and all that, that you can't do if you're driving your cars into it. If it were my house, that's what I would look at. I think it's fine to do a cost analysis of this, but I can't imagine you're going to spend very much more money, if any, to tear down that garage and do a simple, nice garage and what you need to do to get in off the alley and then get your yard back and simplify this. If you want to speak, please come up and let's swear you in.
Still need to swear you in.
Thank you, Nick. Jordan Grinter, 791 Roosevelt.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give this evening will be the truth?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for all the feedback. All the feedback was phenomenal. You guys do God's work with this architectural stuff, so I appreciate that. But some of the things I want to address is like, yes, we are okay with more windows. I like that. I think that you guys gave a lot of good insight on that. And I appreciate that. What was I going to say? You said something about all the setbacks. I think all the setbacks will be good. Siding, we're working on siding. We're working on getting our siding replaced as well. But the thing about the garage that you previously spoke on was we had some thoughts about whether or not we would have to get rid of the driveway with the garage, or if that's something that we could just encompass into more vegetation or whatever we wanted to do with the yard, or if it was a possibility. But we've been hearing some things about not being able to get rid of driveways, and maybe I don't know what that is. So just wanted to ask about that. And then as far as the structure being so close to that setback line in the alley, you're suggesting just if the garage is in such a bad shape, then we just get rid of it and get another one, and that's fine. But I was just worried about this. There is like you said, there is an elevation back there with some drainage piping coming out of a retaining wall. And I just didn't know what the
Matt can answer that question for you.
Yeah, so if you have a driveway, it has to lead to rear yard parking. So currently, it leads to 2 rear yard parking spots, which is required by code for R6 district. If you entered in off the alley, you basically can't stop your driveway
right up against the garage.
At the front of your house or even at the side of your house. So you would remove the whole driveway from off the street. And you would get a front yard, a side yard.
You'd get
You would get more green space.
But something that was more rectangular on past
Teaching your mind.
Which would match your house better in the long run. And you only have 2 corners to turn.
and give you better spaces.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have all those weird
All right.
squares.
Thank you.
Can I also say that, I mean, it looks like we're gonna head toward a table.
Mhm.
And, what I want to make sure that you're aware of, I know you know this, that we don't meet in December. So it wouldn't be coming back till January. And I know how you work at the deadline, Mr. Miller. Since we've been working together now for a little while, I would highly encourage you to almost pretend like there's a December meeting and get me drawings.
Yeah.
Mid-December or early December, you know, in the next few weeks, and we can work back and forth, because when I get them the week before, I don't have time, and I'd like for you guys to be far along in January. I'm even willing to, you know, email them to board members to get their comments. So we have a way that we can do that. I can just we can't have conversations outside of this meeting, but I can blind copy all of my board members on any interim plans. And then we can give you feedback so that when you come back in January, you can be more successful, hopefully pass, get a positive vote and get on with your, you know, construction documents so you can get in the ground when the weather breaks in the spring. So I'm here to help you with that. And I would encourage you to push him to get his drawings done.
And Matt, if they decide that they want to take the garage down and make it part of this project, can it be done under one permit? They don't have to pull a second permit for that, or a second application for that, right?
Yeah, we could amend their ARB application to include the garage if that's something they wanted to do. And they could always ask for a variance to keep the driveway to the side of the house and what is their hardship? Their hardship is they'd like a better addition. I don't know. There's things that can be done. But currently the code says if you have driveway, it has to lead to two rear yard parking spots.
But I would also encourage you to think about how really necessary it is to have a driveway if you can figure out a way to get in, you know,
Lower down. Not cheap though.
through the alley, because you're really going to maximize your green space then when you have kids. That's awesome.
Picking up swings that space. Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we're tabling, right?
Yes, I think we should take a vote so that we can table to a date certain of January 8th.
Are you okay with January 8th?
Yes.
Okay, and in between, Karen will work with you. If you get her information, she'll give you feedback as we work, and then hopefully if it's an amazing design, then you just get voted on the consent agenda on January, and you don't even have to sit through this long, boring meeting, so.
Entertaining.
So these are entertaining.
Yeah, very, I'm sure they are.
You need a motion.
Okay, is there a board member that will make a motion?
So moved, Panofsky.
Second, Scott.
Just for the record, the motion is to table this application to the January 8th, 2026 ARB meeting.
Did somebody second it?
Yep.
I did.
Oh,
Mr. Hire.
Yes.
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 Ms. Jones.
Yes.
yes. Thank you so much, so very much, and well, we're excited to see your application in January.
That motion passed unanimously. Elizabeth, I think the mic might have been up.
Okay, we are adjourned.